beckons a destination, ancient, hidden, forgotten. This is Harbor Town. Harbor Town is an all-new series from Miniature Building Authority, the leader in tabletop gaming scene. Unique, flexible, and playable. Harbor Town will take your games to a new destination.
Seems like the Living Greyhawk group is getting very excited for Saturday night too next week.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Bill's doing up a little extra terrain scenery for it.
Cool. And Casey is on for next Wednesday with the talking.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that will be so much fun.
He was on earlier and he typed drawing in right away already, but he may just be lurking now. So.
That's awesome.
Yeah. We shall see. I was like, what button do I press next? Let's press this one.
Oh, so you had each demo reel on the separate buttons.
Should have. Yeah, every scene's programmed in on the stream deck, and
yeah.
Sometimes if my nail hits that, that's when you wrong thing.
You need to have the big one with the like a whole keyboard set of buttons.
Yeah, I don't have the monster one like Frank and
you have the
John.
mid-size one, I think.
Yeah, that's true. There is one a little bit smaller, but
Yeah.
there's that mega one. I know Frank Neidhart, and I think John and Blue Box both have the mega-sized one, which is cool. Oh, look, I didn't even shut that off. I have Discord set to immediately go off if I close it, but not on my laptop, and it stays in. And it was still popping up stuff. I'm like, what? Good evening, everyone. Hopefully everyone's well. Hopefully you guys can hear me. That wouldn't be good if you couldn't.
Bill can. Hey, everyone.
Yeah, Bill. All right, there you go. Hey, Bill, what's up? What's up, Will? Will's like, I said, Will, can you come on next? He's like, absolutely. I'm like, that's what I like to hear. So that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's hit this to this. Do I have something on this one? 9, boom. Well, that's good that you're still painting. Downstairs, relaxing in that room now. You're not out in the 100-degree temperature like you were last summer. Out in the garage. Forewarned, Will and anyone else who's watching now, that some of these organizations may be a little goofy because I created them when I was in high school or even before high school. So just note that this is coming from the mind of someone who's 13, 14 years old at the time. Not the mongrels. Tim takes credit for that. Oh, you'll get one. You'll get one that's coming. That I'm gonna. I actually did the heraldry for that we have. And I kind of shared that in the post, but a lot of people didn't realize it. Whew. Hope everyone's enjoying the weekend. Hello, Retro. Hello, Mike. Hello, Will. Hello, Cold Steel Penguin. Hello, Master Crafter. Everyone. Some other good news I'll share when we come online. At 7:27, we're gonna do our 1 minute early deal like normally, but evil tonight, the darker side. Now, there's levels of darkness, right, Anna?
Yeah, definitely.
There's different darknesses. Some are more comical than others, and I can picture the Murlocs up there. They're bad, but how evil are they really? They're just, But then there's some other baddies. So we'll get into some campaign ones and some published source, absolutely, tonight that still go or active in my campaign. There's still most of them. I don't think you're going to hear the word Brotherhood tonight, but you're not going to hear the word Scarlet, I don't think, once. Just me saying it right then and there. So that's good. Yeah. You'll see. No, you'll see. We don't use the Scarlet Brotherhood, Will, ever. Rarely. So, yeah, well, they're awesome if they're on the east side of the map. That's the way we always looked at them, that they should stay on that side of the map, so we banished them. There's other good ones. Trust me on that. Plus we'll have Tim's running late. Tim's at his parents'. Tim will be on eventually. So if he misses stuff, that's too bad for him. Yeah, we're not going to hear about any. We're not going to hear. Well, we can hear about vampires in Greyhawk, just not any Thrommel vampires in Greyhawk. So it doesn't exist either. But I don't think Josh is going to be on that. I think Josh had tied up with his in-laws. All right, here we come. The darker side. Good evening. How is everyone tonight? Man, it was beautiful here. I mean, South Jersey. This was the nicest weekend of the year so far. I'm Jay Killer Kazama, and I got the great Anna Meyer with me again tonight.
Hi.
And the ever mysterious DM Tim will be on eventually. So, that's our crew for this evening. I want to say some things about last week's show, the crafting show. Got a lot of great feedback from everyone on it. So much that Reaper started putting out what they want to do for Reaper Virtual ReaperCon, which is the Labor Day weekend, and it's a month before our virtual Greyhawk Con, and so I already I offered to do some things. So in addition to the big news, they want us to do a seminar on ReaperCon's channel with the same three individuals I had on Sunday night. Yeah,
That's
so
great.
yes,
Awesome.
and we're going to do something like we're going to highlight Reaper products and mostly modifying minis and things like that. So with Mike and Bill and with Brian, I think it'll be yeah, we got some real good feedback about that, which is really cool. Yes, Cold, we can all not wait, and if you haven't,
Yep.
the only reason I can say I can wait is I want to enjoy the summer. I want to go down the shore for a week. I want to enjoy, the fun things coming up. So if you haven't logged on yet to the Discord, that Discord link should work to get to the Virtual Greyhawk Con Discord channel. So, all right, the darker side tonight. So Anna, what comes to your mind right off the bat when you think of with
Well, the
Greyhawk?
first is like the big evils, like I use Horn Society, the Death Knights, and some of the other ones, like big nasties are the kind of obvious ones in Greyhawk, of course. But then there's multiple others, and oh, and here we have Tim.
What's up?
Oh boy, he's drinking.
No, not really. I'm outside
All right.
with none other.
Oh, with John. All right. Well, that's cool.
Yep.
That's awesome.
In
Hi.
the backyard.
All right. Well, you may need to. As long as we don't have any reverb. Oh, it froze. All right. Cool.
Yep.
I have to do this. Can't reach Wi-Fi from back here, but I have a fire going and I can't abandon it.
Okay. So we'll have you talk less. You're Jason Zavoda tonight, and
Yeah.
with connectivity. So yeah, absolutely. All right, Anna. So finish that thought on evil. Besides the really, really vile baddies.
Yeah, then we have many. I usually, in my campaigns, I usually think of there's like 3 levels of now I think thinking of them as campaign antagonists and campaign villains. You have your local hoodlums around, your local thugs, and the ones that are there to pester the low level characters, and then you have the other kind of the mid scale, the villains that are the lowest kind of henchmen of the high ones, so to speak, that local little emissary, or the ones running the little scheme that is connected up to whatever big villain you have at the end, so to speak. Those are the kind of mid-level villains that when the characters have come up a little bit and they start getting some reputation and a bit of muscle and experience and stuff, they can tackle the kind of the bigger, nastier ones, so to speak. And then you have the top ones. But then you have another category of evil, and those are the kind of forgotten, I'm thinking undeads in old mausoleums and stuff that aren't really connected to anything, but they're still formidable evil representatives that you can find here and there, old ghosts and various nasty stuff that can think like banshees, and you have all sorts of stuff. That's another category. And then you have another obvious category are big evil monsters, like the big chromatic dragons and others that are kind of can throw a whole countryside into turmoil and stuff that you can have as big enemies, and could be a villain of a whole campaign, so to speak. So those are the kind of the big criteria of the that I'm thinking of in Greyhawk, so to speak.
And so watch this answer. Tim, what do you think of when you think of, because you don't really have a canon viewpoint of Greyhawk, so what do you think of when you think of evil? Watch this.
Well, mostly your guys.
Awesome. Yep.
Well, there's several big ones. Macarash is the big one.
Yeah.
And Pookhead, of course.
Yeah, we got a good story about him. I'm going to retell it, the story of how he should have been killed in the very first time you ever met him. Yes. But they're Dark Brotherhood members, so not yes. So we'll get, yeah, absolutely. All right, so Tim dug up 2 things that are so priceless that I have to share them with all of you. All right.
Yeah.
So are you ready for this? You can explain the first one. I'm going to blow these up a little bit. All right. Wait till you see these. These fit right in. All right. What is that?
What is that? Trivia question. What? When did Jay look shocked like that?
Yeah. Yes.
If anyone answers that question.
Yes. So Dark Dragon 2, Mimorph, yes. This is how I look when I play in Tim's campaign.
When the last one, when you handed over the and she
yeah. Poison, because Jay was sitting back like haha, and then she just and he leans forward.
Yes. What's up, DM? All right, so you ready? This one's even better. So I think 2 times in my life I did this. Okay, 2. And
this
Tim, this one is awesome. Tim found this. I think I'm at most 16 at most at this time. All right. This is us going to the Tuxedo, New York, Sterling Forest Renaissance Festival. Oh, someone covered. It's all right. We'll take the follower.
Yep.
Lord of the Red Dragon.
There we go. Look at that. All right. So if you recognize the people in this picture, I am to the far left in the blue with the, oh my gosh, with the, whatever that hat is I have on. Walt is behind me. Tim is in the Vagabond Rogue outfit, and then Tim's sister Amy's there. I mean, you're talking about an evil party.
That's awesome outfits. Yeah.
Yeah, so
great.
that has got to be 1982.
Yeah, it's early.
82 or 83, that picture's from. So,
Dad was produce the college plays where he worked, you know, when they were doing drama productions. So we benefited from a recent production of Faustus, or well, it's Faustus, right? Yeah. So that was where the wizard robe came from, and the various period Renaissance sort of costumes.
Yeah, so that's our evil party for tonight. Is that that group there of evil doers? You know, so like I said, twice in my life, I think I dressed up, both going to this Renaissance fair, and so had to share that. Tim had just located that. All right, so it is freaking hysterical. Evil. So when you start a campaign out, and you know, I met Tim and Walton in the very early '80s, and you're about to run or start something, you think of, well, just running adventures is cool, but what's really cool is bad guys to throw at them repeatedly, right? A group or a person. Now, so I love some of the ideas we had, and I was playing with Alan still, and we did that whole war with like the Sea Princes and Keelan, and that was crazy stuff. It's kind of the same thing like Mike Bridges was doing. Remember on Always 2E, we're just throwing wars at each other all over the place. So I had an evil antithesis pre-Macarash. The first ever her name was the Claw, and she was like an assassin. And she was like the de facto leader of, I hadn't called it the Dark Brotherhood yet, but she was the first evil antithesis I had in my campaign. And, you know, people would be venturing, and of course, she was always around. She'd be, when you're young, every adventure she shows up, you know, and assassinating people and all. So that was the first one. And then as we moved forward, I said, I got to get more of an organization together. And then I saw that Crypts of Astaris adventure. And then they talked about this group, the Dark Brotherhood. And this is pre deities, and this is deities and demigods era, right? This is not, there's no articles on any Greyhawk deities, I don't think, at this point. So and I don't know if all of you who played early on, we're picking deities from that book. And I like to finish deities. So we were using them to this day. And so we came up with, and let me scan through a lot of these here. We came up with, and the symbols are on this new heraldry that I just recently created for them, for the Dark Brotherhood. And that is the Heisi, which is the god of evil, the lightning bolt in the black sky, and then Leviatar, which is a really popular deity I've found out in Forgotten Realms still to this day, with the pallid hand holding the dagger. So I threw that on there, and to this day, that's two of the main deities that this organization worships. And they're centered. Go ahead, Tim.
Just her area of focus just automatically sets her up to be the awesomest, you know, evil deity sponsoring all sorts of badness.
Yeah, exactly. And Mike Wilson, thank you for the resub there. So there's a recent picture of some of the group, but I kind of got away from this. I looked through the numbers, Anna, on this, and we're up to 881 this Thursday, and I think I really stopped around using this group around 200. I got away from them, and I don't know why. So that's got to be still early 90s, and I really got away from using them. It could have been From the Ashes came out, and that threw a wrench into everything. I'm thinking that's what happened, right? Because that really was so game changing that you had to, you know, Ayers is all over the place. It kind of took away from what I was doing in my campaign. You know, I don't know how. You know, Anna, what did that...
For me, when From the Ashes came, that kind of took a decade of fighting Ayus not him personally, but all his henchmen and the wars and stuff. It took us 10 years to play through that. And it also took me 10 years to realize that I should kind of not following it slavingly. So then when the Living Greyhawk and stuff came out like a decade or so later, then I kind of didn't pay much attention to it, and I just ran my campaigns on and off as I saw fit, so to speak. So I kind of read it through and took some of the cool things, but most of the significant stuff happened in the Sergeant era, and I kind of took that in and realized now I need to play this. So I kind of made my own versions of what happened in the Sergeant and stayed fairly true to it and let the characters be part of the big event, so to speak. The war in Furyundi between Ayus and the Furundians and Valuna and Shieldlands and stuff. That was something we played for years in various shapes and forms.
And I agree. And I think that's, the more I think about it, the reason why, and Tim is away all this time. Remember, Tim's all over the world. So Tim's basically plays once a year at most, right? At that time?
Maybe twice.
Yeah, maybe twice. Yeah. So, because, you know, he's stationed all over the world. And but we have our main core group. And I really think that I really wholeheartedly went into what they did in From the Ashes and kind of forgot about what I was doing in my own campaign. And then I've just been having like an epiphany. Oh my God, I had some great content back then. I got to start bringing it back. And that's kind of with the heraldry tied in. So I'm going to share some of these groups with you all tonight. And then we're going to talk about some published source groups as well. So, yeah. Oozing iron, yeah, exactly. A whole bunch of irony. So I look through the numbers, and you go back to the early adventures. You're going back almost before we ran the original Temple of Mental Evil. And I want to show a map here. And I'm going to show it in large scale. So, oops. See, I did hit the wrong button. There we go. It was on 11 or 12. All right, if you look at this map here of Selene, you see to the east, you have a town, and this is all, thank you, Anna, all the estates are on here.
Oh, yeah, we updated that
It's wonderful. The Selene Forest Night Watch symbols on there, the Order of Yulk symbols on there, but the city of East Vespers on there, which is my doing with the amphitheater, and Mark's character, Temporal, is the head of the Order of Yulk there, but more importantly is the South Walkwood Bridge. And in adventure number 52, we had the Battle of South Walkwood Bridge. What happened in this was the Dark Brotherhood had snuck an army up. Does this sound familiar, guys? Hey, what's up, John? Snuck an army up through the Sus Forest into the Welkwood and was going to amass a kind of bridgehead, like, you know, take that bridge as and hold it, and to get all their troops in across the Jewel River easily. And it was a large fight. And I remember some things about this. Do you remember anything, Tim, specifically?
No, I actually, when we talk about a bridge, I remember fighting a BattleTech game where a bridge.
Yeah, this one's a little different. So this one, what happened was, it has to be in that 83 era or a little bit, maybe a little later than that. But when Art Arcana came out, they showed all the allowable multi-class options. And I'm looking in there, and I thought I had thought of every one of them. And then I looked, and the checkbox X was off under Illusionist Assassin for Gnome. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God. What's that?
This is where Phuket first showed up.
I was like, oh my God, what a great combination. With all the illusionist spells, non-detection, improved invisibility, mislead. Oh my God. And making this character an assassin. This is brilliant. So this is the first adventure where that character shows up. And Makaresh is fighting. It's a big, massive battle. And guys, remember, this is...
I remember that now, because I remember when he got away. He was on the bridge when he got away.
Exactly.
Oh, I remember that, because I had a rage fit.
Exactly. See, now it's coming back to you. So explain, do you remember how that happened?
How
he got away.
I think he did mislead or something,
No.
or teleport. I
No.
don't remember exactly.
No, Tim.
Did he fall
It was Mark's character, Swain. Swain cast Ice Storm and cast a sheet of ice on the bridge, and he slipped and fell off and was taken downstream by the water and the jewel. But he was almost dead. That's how he got it. So a whole decade of me torturing you is, and remember, you guys wouldn't live you wouldn't let Mark live that down for the longest time. But that was how that happened. So that's a momentous fight between the Dark Brotherhood and the Order of Ulick and the forces of Selene. So I saw a lot of people say, why doesn't Tarash Mack and Ayuz link up? Because evil forces, it's not like, and I hate to use this as an analogy, it's not like Germany and Japan in World War II. Evil doesn't really like evil in some instances. And would you agree? Sometimes there's factions that just don't want to get along within evil.
Yeah, and I also have it meaning this same meaning chaotic evil doesn't organize with anything, and neutral evil, they organize if they can inflict more damage that way maybe, but lawful evil, I have them organized quite well, so to speak, and they forces of like Hextorians and others, they can organize quite well in order to promote the cause, because the cause is more important than the individual for them. And I have it with chaotic evil is the opposite. It's me kind of.
Yeah,
and so
evil is inhibited by their inability to trust one another. They just cannot, because you can't, because you shouldn't. They're always inhibited by that. If you can't trust your allies and work together, because that's how you build trust, and they're inhibited by that. So
you're a little chopped.
Yeah, but and this is something, evil alignment in role-playing games is something you could, there have been whole books written about it, and it's really sensitive, and I think you have to kind of make your own interpretation of the many, meaning in some ways evil can be inherited, it can be a force in itself, and in some ways it's just if things are morally seen a certain way, so you just have to make up how you want to treat alignment. That's very much, I think, up to each DM and his gaming group, how to and how you detect alignment and stuff like that. Are there alignment languages, alignment damage, and stuff like that? That's something I think each game group and DM, you have to kind of figure out how you want to interpret it. And the various editions of D&D and other role-playing games, fantasy, they usually have their own interpretation of how to use both what it is and then it's how it's used mechanically and how it's used in the setting. So I think you have to kind of, and my interpretation have been that chaotic evil, it's very self-centered and power-centered, but that doesn't mean that they can't cooperate, but it's simply, I guess a chaotic evil will be like, oh, there's a bunch of henchmen around thinking that when the top one, when I get powerful enough, I can chop the head off and I will be running the whole scheme, or the leader will die and I can inherit the show afterwards and stuff like that. So no true friendship, it's more like opportunist. But in lawful evil, I see more kind of pure friendship, and the ideology and the higher purpose is more important than the individual office. I mean, they have rules and dogmas and all stuff like that.
So the point the reason I wanted to bring that up was if you look at the ethos and dogma of the Dark Brotherhood, they take in followers of other deities, but they refuse absolutely and will slay on. They war openly with Iusians. They can't stand them. Iusians are as much of an arch nemesis of the Dark Brotherhood as all the good states are, because their motives are completely separate in the way they want to control things, which I think is good, and that makes it a little more fun to have evil fighting evil.
And it's always, meaning some evil could be very religious, meaning the cults of Nerul and Erithnul and and other horribly and Hextorian knights and stuff. They can be religious evil, so to speak, in the campaign setting. But then you can have like more, and even I don't see him as religious. He needs devotees and stuff, and he's kind of a demigod. But I see him more as a political force than a religious force, so to speak. So his clerics and specialty priests and stuff are more like his civil servants that carries out his orders and maintain his empire, so to speak. That's the but then you can have like more traditional evil gods and stuff, but then you have more like just the thugs that go around stealing things and stuff. So
yeah.
So evil can span. Some evil can be very religious and tied to a god or some figure like that, and some are just the local hoodlums just going around stealing things and for fun.
Plus, the Dark Brotherhood does not believe in demon summoning and that kind of stuff. You know, that's off limits.
Yeah, there you have another thing that can vary from edition to edition, and it varies from campaign to campaign. Meaning, are the demon lords, are they gods or not, so to speak? In my campaign, they are. They are powerful enough to have divine abilities and stuff, just like gods. Meaning, if you run the 9 hells, then you're more powerful than Hextor himself, so to speak. So, and he's described as the herald of hell, meaning Asmodeus is way more powerful than Hextor is. So Asmodeus is kind of a higher up deity than Hextor. But that's something that each DM and each campaign, you have to kind of figure that out. You might want to have the demons and stuff for different type of thing altogether, and they have nothing to do with the gods. That's something you have to, but I think the important thing is that it makes sense for you as a DM, so you can kind of have a narrative that makes sense for you and that you can kind of tease your gaming group with. I think that's the important. There is no right and wrong, more than you should have something that makes sense for you, so you can present something cool, coherent, mystical bit that the players have to kind of unpick the thing, and they can find the narrative during the adventuring.
Yeah, and like the Shieldlands is up there now, and I use this all throughout the Shieldlands warring, you know, with that and fighting Furiundi and fighting in the Vespi Forest. I don't need IUs in this Sus, and I don't need IUs in Selene. I don't need IUs in the Ulick state. It just doesn't make sense, right? So, you know,
I stayed away from IUs for 20 years. Now in the next campaign, it's going to be IUs. He's going to be one of the major antagonists, or his faction, so to speak, one of the major factions. But it took me over 20 years to come back to IUs, and now I think the time is right for me to kind of open the can of IUs worms again. Yeah.
So Tim, give me a memory or two of your Dark Brotherhood days.
My Dark Brotherhood day. Just the rage of having Macrash and Puka escape. Those are the
over and over. I was good at getting them away. See, the great thing,
they would always throw cannon fodder at us to get massacred, and when things got really bad, they were good at you know, and they'd have a plan to bug out, of course. And
come on, you know the one I'm thinking about. Come on with Murdoch. All right, I've told this story a couple times.
Absolutely. Yeah,
all right, this is the weekend in 1987 that we're down. We're finishing up Temple of Mental Evil. Then Tim ran the Knights of the Eastern Sun adventure, which is actually in the Great Kingdom area, and then I ran the 3 Cavalier Paladin types, finding Altamira, finding the site, clearing the land on the site. It was called Cavalier School, right? That adventure, number 39. Okay, what happened during that adventure? I thought this was
Murdoch the Mighty was there, and he ended up fighting Macarash, and Macarash had a sword of sharpness and rolled a critical. So automatically a limb's coming off because of the sword of sharpness, and then when Jay rolled the critical, another limb also came off.
And it was right arm and left leg.
Right arm and left leg were hacked off in one attack.
So he had to be standing something like this with the leg sticking out.
He was lunging left foot forward and right arm forward. And
yeah, that was the. I thought you'd bring that one right up.
It's almost a Monty Python.
Almost.
Yeah.
But we. Thanks, Cole. Thank you. Oh, Blue, thank you for this gift sub. All right, so we had almost that happen on Thursday night. Waltz Walt's dwarven female fighter, Joriana, cut both limbs off of the dragon.
Yeah, that's when you told the story last time.
Yeah,
Yep.
the double
Awesome.
critical. So
Yep.
that was awesome. So yeah, that was the early days, and then as that moved on, I had an adventure, and I was hoping Gary was going to be on, but I haven't seen him. I haven't seen Pluffett Smedger on tonight. Well, we'll go back. We'll have to come back to this. But I ran an adventure, tied it in with Fortress Elendar in the Shieldlands, where our friend Saint Kargath, which from the Saints article, that all the king of the Death Knights, right?
Oh yes.
For that
I've used
article.
him.
And he had Gorgor the Shatter, and that's how it was adventure number 213.
See, you've been over there on the eastern side too.
Well, that's still the Shieldlands. It's right on the border, right? The
Yeah,
Shieldlands
oh, yeah.
Bandit Kingdom. So they were.
Yeah,
they
but
were doing...
he's from the Great Kingdom days, and it's all tying into the good old days. Yeah.
Absolutely, and I just love that Saints article, and I had to use them. So I figured this was be the perfect spot because it was close, right on that edge of the Shieldlands. So here, I think let me hit the right button. Am I gonna hit the right button, guys? I did. All right. So let me see if I can show this real quick on the Shieldlands. I'm not sure if it's going to show on this map. There. Okay. You see, all right. If you see White Plume Mountain and go due south of Dead Old Knoll's eye socket, you see Fortress Elendar right there. That's that adventure, my Wall of Fame. It's on the A in the Old North Arity Road. That's where it's placed. So at this point, I had this free-for-all of all these groups. I had Dark Brotherhood members up here. I had Saint Kargath and multiple Death Knights. Plus, I had Order of Ulick members, and they're all fighting each other. And I remember that in that article for Saints, that it said his Saint Kargath's arch enemies is Haynard of the White Guard, who stole Gorgorin from him. I even had that guy show up. So it was one of those young free-for-all things, and that was kind of the last recorded adventure I can find that I really used the Dark Brotherhood for about, I'm going to say 10 to 15 years. Was that adventure where it was just a massive combat, and it was just one of those. We want to end up something with a bang. It was the coup de grace moment. I don't think you were there for that, Tim, were you?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think you were there.
When did one of the bad guys get imprisoned and then consequently freed?
Right. All right. That was very early. That was like in the first 10 adventures we did. So Tim's character Skeeve imprisoned Makarash with an imprisonment spell, and then I tricked Mark and his group of adventurers to free him in a future adventure. Don't read from the book. It's the number one joke of all time. And he read from the book, and they the freedom spell and freedom. So yeah, I completely forgot. Yeah, see, I'm getting old, but my point on this is there's no reason you can't have evil organizations and groups in your own campaign, in addition to all the published source ones, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So you have IUs all over the place. You have the Scarlet Brotherhood if you use them. You have the Ravagers. And they're different from the Free Reavers, even. The Free Reavers kind of stated themselves in the Horn Society, and we'll talk about them. But you can have your own groups, and so this Dark Brotherhood group now currently is run by Holly. She's a 16th or 17th level specialty priestess of Leviator, and the little trick. So John's on. Quick story. John's like, I want to take my character. This is the Saturday before last, when I did the session 0 for his group at Blue Box. He goes, I want to take my character and I want to use her as antithesis. So I said, well, you got to start her name with an H. All the female members of the Dark Brotherhood humans, their names begin with H. That's the key. So he says, oh, her name's Hollia Thrain. I was like, perfect. So yeah, so her she had to get that crystal skull that was in that tomb to get her membership. So that was the whole point behind him betraying the party there. So now John can run with it however he wants. And now he's got an antithesis set up who's in the Dark Brotherhood. Yes. Evil. See, new evil groups. I got to have some more evilness coming all over the place. Yes, Cold. And here's the thing. When we were playing in the early 80s, There are no Greyhawk deities published anywhere. Not until those articles in Dragon Magazine, right? So we don't have anything else. You have the Deities and Demigods book that long ago. Blue, John, thank you so very much for that. So we already got 4 special hero points for. We already have 4 special hero points for Thursday night and 1 regular. So you don't have. You don't
It was
have.
first in the '83 box set when you got like a almost complete or good list of.
Yeah. So
in the folio didn't have any. So,
right. The folio didn't have deities.
Yep.
And so
then they came through Dragon one at a time or a few at a time. Yeah.
So my campaign started in 1980.
Mm-hmm.
And we were playing in '78, so we had deities and demigods. That was it.
Yeah. I didn't start playing in Greyhawk, and the box set was the introduction for me. So the gods came with the initial purchase, so to speak.
Early on, we had a lot of St. Cuthbert because he was in Hamlet.
Yep.
You knew about him, but you knew about St. Cuthbert. That's true.
Yeah, we had him a lot too, and then he, and that's interesting. St. Cuthbert was very important in my first 5 years of 6 or 7 maybe, first bunch of Greyhawk gaming. Then he kind of fell out of favor a bit, and I didn't use him much. And now I see him more as a folksy deity to keep the local peasantry happy and revolt free and stuff like that. So they kind of. They help out and get the local hoodlum in place, so to speak, and keep the hoodlum and the farmers in peace and quiet and stuff like that. So yeah.
So you picked the deities that made sense, and I love Finnish mythology. We had a lot of people like Norse. So we had a lot of, just like Gary Gygax's first 2 deities in Greyhawk were Odin and Thor. A lot of people don't know that.
Wow. That's
okay.
Kind of
cool. Yes, that's what he used at first was Norse deities as well till they developed.
We used them a little bit, but the problem was that, or for me, it was that we used them in other campaigns and other games when I played before I started running my own games in Greyhawk. That's why I wanted to kind of dive into Greyhawk and use the gods there rather than the old Norse gods. But we had a lot of the old giants and Thor and Odin and all the other ones. So,
deities and demigods predates the Greyhawk deities by like 3 years. I think deities and demigods came out in '80, and
something like that. And then
he worshipped. He worshipped. Oh man, the Titan that gave us Prometheus.
Prometheus, Skeev, right?
Yeah.
Prometheus, forethought, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So that's.
The original fantasy and D&D was very oriented Old Norse, Old Roman, Greek gods, and stuff like that from old legends and myth, rather than because it didn't have its own set of heroes and legends and stuff to fall back to. That's something that come over the years. And Tolkien, but Tolkien doesn't have any gods really to speak of. So that's why you had to kind of take real world gods and mythology to start with, and then invent your own down the line.
So I had a predicament, right? We have all these deities we're already worshiping now.
And then comes the box set. So how did you solve that conundrum?
We grandfathered them in.
So
we actually have, if you take a look at, there's evil and some good. We were lucky because you had Elven you had Corel and Larethian and deities and demigods. You knew Groomsh. You knew all those big ones, which was good. They were in there.
So you basically were better set in the demi-human and humanoid era than the normal common gods of mankind.
So we had the major. It was. I kept a lot of the Finnish. Ukko is still in my Greyhawk. Leviator. Heisey, no one. It's kind of an NPC only one. So is Leviator, but Leviator is much more active. And then we still have pulled a couple over from other places just to finish the pantheon out. So, but Red Knight is from Forgotten Realms, but no one knows where Mayheen's from. Right, Mayheen came in, and so during that From the Ashes era, we kept Mayheen.
Not a big to say these giant, powerful beings exist on several different world dimensions.
so we're getting a little off that topic, but so the Dark Brotherhood, that's who they worship, is Heisei and Leviator, and they accept Erythnol members, they start Nerol and Cabulus, all those are in the whole group except Ius, no Iusians.
It's very, very similar to how I see the Horn Society.
Mm-hmm.
That they kind of accept the whole range of evil deities, but they would not accept Ius because Ius is a local kind of competitor. And
they smell.
Yeah,
they do.
Smell. Yes, so they will be seen as traitors on site, so to speak. But the other ones are kind of acceptable. A whole range.
I have a hard time imagining a chaotic evil taking over so much land and then holding it, because taking over stuff is a lot easier than holding it and managing it.
That's exactly where my campaign comes in. That's one of the premises for my upcoming campaign, is that there is no his armies were fed and paid from looting, and now all the neighbors are either defeated, meaning they've been looted, or they have now been powerful and knows his schemes and are prepared and can handle with them. So it's a stalemate.
Start eating each other.
Exactly. So that's exactly, that's one of the premises my campaign. Ius needs to start operating in new ways to figure things out, because he doesn't want to open his private coffers and start handing over treasure to his orcs, and the orcs need something to do, and they also need something to eat and stuff, and with no easy enemies to kill, they start killing each other or whatever comes, and they are starting to get unruly. And that's exactly where my campaign kind of goes into that premise when that starts happening, or had been happening for like a year or two.
So to finish up with the Dark Brotherhood, I kind of were using them all along when we were streaming.
Yeah.
So let me show you, if we go to, this is September, October of 2018. Winchester's bulwark, as it's being assaulted by this army of Erythnol that appears from out of nowhere, out of the Sus. This was kind of Bill Score's idea. He's been giving me a lot of evil ideas lately, and I kind of ran with it. And this was a massive.
The Sus forest can be home to a lot of nasty evil that can come out of that.
But the great thing was, Anna, this tied into the hidden temple of Erythnol that we placed right in the Sus from that module from Vortex number 8. And
I see it as oh, sorry, I interrupted.
No, go ahead. No, absolutely.
I see it as an interesting, because I can see them as refugees. They couldn't, meaning the Great Kingdom had banned them. They didn't want any cults of Erythnol in their on their territory. So to move out to the Wild Coast is probably a good idea, because that was the closest you can be to civilization and money and loot and stuff.
Absolutely.
And still be outside of the major powers, so to speak. So being ousted from the Great Kingdom, that's where you can end up, in the Pomarsh and the Wild Coast.
It was a brilliant idea to start on Bill's part. And like I said, I'll take my players' ideas all the time and run with them. And then I thought to myself, I can have the Dark Brotherhood pulling the strings behind the scenes, right? No one needs to know this early on. So here's all the assault, and I'm telling you, this was a pre-underlays, as you can see. This was such a massive undertaking. And this is right when Tom started playing again, which was great. This really enticed Tom in. But the fires and the battering rams and the walls of stone going up, and just, man, this was around. It was Tim rounds. A round took an hour, Tim. With all the fighting going on, all the carnage everywhere, and all. So, but this led to this led to so many other opportunities, and so this army got scattered. It got defeated because it's still chaotic for the most part, and then it got scattered to the winds. Well, if you noticed on Thursday night, when I did my adventure Thursday night, almost 2 years later, that's a remnant of this army. Those gnolls and the Grillins there, yeah. So they're holed up all over the place, and that's kind of what the idea was for it. So, and let me just scan through these, and then I want to get to the other point. This battle was massive. I mean, this just went on and on, wiped out, and then we had a whole new group level first that came off of this, and there's the castle and winter scene, and so Ius gets fed on pretends Ellie's, yeah, exactly. There's so there's ways that evil can sneakily go about its business and get its plans done. So part 2 of this was last year. We did Defense of the Watchers Towers out in the Pomarsh. So a lot of these original units are now going to, the second attack is going to try and wipe these 2 towers that the Order of Helix built in the Pomars. Once again, the Dark Brotherhood's pulling all the strings here, right? Using the other evil for their purpose. So this fight's Carnage Inc. You know, you guys, this was not that, I guess, a year, a little less than a year, and so all this fighting's going on, and all this death is going. But at the very end of all, remember the Prince of Ulick lost a whole bunch of doors out here because he's incompetent. I pick on him a lot too. I shouldn't, Tim, but I do. So what it turns out was, let me just put this back at the beginning. I'll put that right back at the beginning there. That should work. What it turns out was, you find out at the very end, you find some of these really, and I gotta scroll through and find the picture. You find a whole bunch of these Dark Brotherhood big names out of antiquity are coming and are part of this whole plot. And then, so that's how I tied it back in. There they are, right? You got Sir Twix there. You got Leo McMichael there. You got all these nasties. Yes, right. So you finally got to fight some of those guys that you've been waiting. So the dude with the big sword, he had killed Anna. Alan's character Herbie in 3 straight adventures back in 1987, and
he was kind of brought back to life and then
killed
again.
Yeah, he killed. Yeah, he got raised or resurrected. Alan's character 3 times, got killed by the same guy. Yeah, so yeah, those were the fun days, and so I brought those guys back, and this whole group is still there, and that's the thing. I'm going to use them more and more because I really like to have my own. It's fun to do published source stuff. I think it's more fun to come up with your own ideas. You know.
Jay, what's the name of that bad guy?
Which one, Sir Twix? Like the candy bar? What's that?
The one with a flaming sword?
Sir Twix.
Oh, okay.
Like the candy bar. TWIX, I swear to God. Yeah.
I remember the Big John Stud and
those were from the Great Kingdom, all the wrestlers.
Right. All right.
Yeah, they were the wrestlers from the Great Kingdom that they fought the one time in a big battle royale. Yeah, it was kind of comical when you think about it. Yes. So
little kid.
So published source. Let's go to a published source one that we use. How about that? So the Dark Brotherhood's around, okay, but then there's other published source evil groups that I use all the time, and the biggest one I think that I use is the Slavers. Right, you got the whole slave ring operation.
So easy to hate.
What? Yeah, absolutely. Oh, I went by Alita. Okay, so this is the cover of the Slavers. On the front, that's Davis the Reaver with his saber of storms, and then you have the yellow sails in the background. So Sergeant Slaughter. It was Rowdy Piper. You know, so it was before They Live, of course. I forget who they were. Yeah, but Big John Stud was like 6.
The feral kid was from Mad Max 2, from Road Warrior.
That's right. I had a feral kid too.
The kid with the metal boomerang.
Yeah, he's not really a bad guy, you know. Kind of
but it's a great name.
Sergeant Slaughter. Remember that name? Didn't he just pass, Sergeant Slaughter? I think he just did. I think he just passed. So. The Slavers are great because if you run the Slave Lord series A1, 2, 3, 4, an A0 even, I hear there's an A5, and then there's Carlos ones afterwards with Marquesa. You can really make them a real nemesis and their published source, but then you can go all sorts of different directions. So I really like the Slavers. The organization's not as huge as the IUZ. The IUZian thing is like life or death amongst all the Flanis when you think about it. And that kind of is like, what would be the word? That's kind of scary and daunting, right? The Slavers are a little different. The Slavers are, you get to save people from servitude, bondage. You get to, rescue.
Yeah, they're kind of a regional villain, not a major continental world villain like I use.
Well,
they're more
if
kind
you
of
knock
regional.
down the world, it's bad for business.
Yes.
Yeah.
You gotta.
Yeah, they rely on.
Yeah. This is more of a subterfuge organization, and the Slavers are. If you get to one of my 3 favorite published source references of all time, you'll get all the data you need on the Slavers. you can see how much use it gets. It's falling into parts all over the place.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Anna. I want you want to finish that
No,
point.
I was just going to say that the slavers are a perfect kind of regional menace that you can fight with, and the world doesn't end if you lose, and the world doesn't need to change much outside of their zone of influence. So that's the kind of scale. If you want to invent a villain that is sustainable, meaning you can base a whole campaign up until the characters have reached high level, but you still don't need to upset the whole setting and change everything just because if the characters win or lose. So that scale of villain is I think is a good one to go for, something that works in one area and can run things there without being the almighty. Meaning the end of the world campaign, I think, is, for me at least, that was a stage of my gaming that I had to go through. Now we all read Lord of the Rings and we've seen the movies and stuff, and I got my kind of end the world phase before the movies existed, but they were reading the books. It was like, oh, I want that. And then you had Gary Gygax, who had the Theor parts in the Gord books that are pretty much just an analogy to the ring from Tolkien in many, at least as a campaign base, so to speak, as a narrative stories, that if they fail and all these Theor parts end up in one evil master villain's hands, then the whole thing goes nuts and the whole world kind of ends. And I should not spoil the end of the books, but it's kind of, I stayed away from that type of campaigning sense, because it can be fun to run, but then meaning then you have to run, if the world actually goes haywire, then you have a consequence, so to speak. So yeah.
That 100% true. I'm trying to make a deal with Alan Growy to get a set of Gord books off him. So.
Oh yes,
I'm attempting to.
Yeah, they're definitely, and there you have some awesome villains to talk about. I'm especially thinking about the demon lords in that book. Gerast is very depicted a lot. Kostichi, you have a Vuron, you have a whole bunch of other. Kostichi is one of my other favorites. He's that kind of barbarian villain with a big mace or hammer or whatever, and he simply has one tool and he's just looking for the job that can fit his tool.
He was on the cover of a Dragon magazine, wasn't he?
Yes,
too?
exactly. He's that awesome big guy, and yeah, so and he depicts him and down in the court and stuff brilliantly, so to speak.
Good.
And there's a whole bunch of other demons and various other creatures from the netherworld. So if you want to have kind of the psychology and the kind of the mood for a major fiend based campaign, those books are awesome material. They're fantastic for it.
So
especially the last 2 or 3 of them. Yeah.
I have a picture up of Alida Norbalos, one of the arch villains in my campaign, and probably not an arch villain in a lot of other campaigns, but she is in line to take over the hierarchy of the Gynarchy, and once again, you could have, who knows who's running Harby at this time, right? We've gone over this discussion 100 times. Greyhawk, merchants, or the Gynarchy itself. You flip a coin 3 ways, because everyone has different theories on it. But make it your own, make it whatever you want it to be. Well, she's in league with the slavers, and kind of this thing with the arch nemesis PC of all time, Michael Baton, has gotten in her way, and now there's all this slaughter going on. Tim probably had to hop off and is probably going to hop back on. So I have, every time I run a Harby adventure, Bill, cover your ears if you're listening, they are so paranoid that she has her hands in it, that I got them already scared to death before they even take an adventure on. And you guys will see this Thursday night. Okay, and I'm just going to flip this up real quick because it's wonderful. It's perfect timing. So Thursday night, I'm running this adventure 881 called The Rendezvous. All right.
Ooh,
so
the title is ominous.
Yes.
The title is ominous in itself. Yeah.
One shotter with the hiltless swords out of Harby, and I guarantee you the paranoia level is going to be so high on this that I'm looking forward to it. So I just wanted to throw that out as a little tidbit. You always can have this kind of like bad guy, bad gal behind the scenes, pulling strings in with another organization. She has no she's using the slavers because she thinks it's going to help her against Greyhawk, which is kind of extremely misguided. But the PCs have gotten in her way enough that it's time to take out some of them, and so that's been going on for the last 5-6 adventures we've had in Harby. So that's kind of fun. But I love Harby adventuring because everything, you don't know who is who and who's on your side and who's against you, and everyone has an ulterior motive. I just love Harby adventuring. Let's see, they return talking about the new shadow, which takes place hundreds of years. A portion of it's in the history of Miller. Oh, okay, wow, yeah, and so you can have villains return. Oh God, keep your mouth shut, Jay. Don't badmouth Ari Salvatore. I won't say anything else. Okay, bad guys can return if it makes sense, right? You don't want to have bad guys returning for some crazy reason. Like we had one person as a joke get Wishback. It wasn't even a bad guy. It was a chaotic stupid guy. It was someone's old PC, and we had him wish back for one adventure, and then that was the end of it. But that comedy's one thing. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I was going to say, fantasy also opens up for new, interesting return of, meaning they can return as ghosts, as undead versions, and they can also return in the form of their movement, their cult, or something. They might have a following, and the followers are dead set on coming and hunt you down because you killed their leader, or they're promising God to be, or something, or you stole the treasure, or whatever. So there is many ways of, you don't have to be personally returning the same villain, but the story can continue in many interesting ways down the line, so to speak. So you sometimes it's awesome to make the villain, him or herself or itself, come back in the same form, but sometimes you can twist that and say the story continues but the villain is dead, so to speak. And you can even reassure the players, because they might for some reason get a reassurance that the villain actually is dead, and then the story continues anyway in some interesting form. So, and fantasy opens up for all sorts of magical, divine, and interesting ways that you can split a story up, so to speak, and get a new adventure hook coming down the line.
And I got away from that with the Dark Brotherhood, but I think I really did well with it with the Slavers and Alita, because I've been able to keep that and get that level up.
Yeah, and look at Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. Look at
I was just going to say, Carlos did awesome with
Marquesas.
Yeah, but Marquesa, that was kind of Marquesa die, and Marquesa comes back again, and he became an awesome feature. And I'll see. I don't know. Is it like 4 different adventures at least?
I think he's done 3, and he's working on a 4th.
Okay, yeah.
I think he's done 3, and he's working on a 4th.
That's cool. Yep.
It's coming out. But if you don't have them, I recommend you ordering them from his site. And I got to hit some guys. Whoops, that was did not go. All right, I don't think my shout outs are working again tonight. Let me see. They are working. Good. There they go. Okay, they are working. All right, so you have, that's a good published source one. It's not that overbearing. I know the Earth Dragon throws a little loop into it, but the Earth Dragon's just there. It's like an evil.
But now we've talked about. Now I've got the explanation, and people talked about it, and now I have an awesome idea for a campaign with Earth Dragon as the major villain in the future, so to speak. And so that is my. Now I have like 3 or 4 different campaign ideas for the future. So that's definitely going to be one of them. And then I can reintroduce the slave lords again after not adventuring in that area, and use them for 30 years, and that's going to be so much fun. Just like coming back to IUs will be fun now after 20 years of hindsight, and so my 2020 vision, so to speak, is much better now than when From the Ashes came out. Now there's way more interesting information about IUs, and all my map research and stuff can come back. So yeah.
Whoops! I just hit the wrong button. I was trying to respond to that question that Next to Flynn had in chat about what should you read first. I'll just say it in chat. You want to find a glossography or original. You want to find one of those folios to start, and I don't have them up here. And then go from there on, depending on what edition you want to play. There are some great things. You really, what you need to do. is join a community first. Yeah, Anna's going to find them. You need to join a community. Yeah, start with the Greyhawk box set, Living Greyhawk Gazetteer. Everyone's going to tell you a whole different bunch of different things. So, someone please link Greyhawk Online Discord. I have a virtual Greyhawk Con Discord. If someone could link that would be fantastic. That's the place you want to go of all the suggestions for all the people. On there, and they'll direct you. The Gord books, novels, as Jason Zavoda would direct you to. I'm going to direct you to the original glossography, and then edition. Depending on when, I'm going to direct you to the From the Ashes and the Greyhawk City box set. Yes,
we have these, and they're available at
383.
Drive-Thru RPG as PDFs.
Yep.
And that includes a PDF of Darlene's awesome map that comes with it. That kind of started my career as a fantasy cartographer, and it's the old original awesome map of Greyhawk. So I think it's about $10 or something like that at Drive-Thru RPG, and they're really good scans, and they're OCR and stuff, so you can copy you can search for text and terms and stuff. So that's one of the original box set with source 576 information in it. And then I have another one that I personally really like. Adventure Begins.
It's like
has a
2.5.
whole bunch of long stories and information. That's set a little bit after the original box set, and then the latest
Wars too. After the Wars too.
Yeah, and the latest Bible is this. This is probably the most comprehensive book. It's late. It's the kind of the sets the stage for the Living Greyhawk campaign in back, what is it, like 15 years after the original one. But it has a ton of stories, and it has so much information and stuff. So this one I can warmly recommend it to. So if you want to get into it and get a good, all these books have a good overview. Each of them give you a lot of overview. It doesn't give you all the juicy bits about everything, but it gives you a good insight in the setting as a whole, in deities, history, different realms, master villains, big cities, and stuff like that. So yeah.
You really want to watch next Sunday, because I'm going to pray. I'll wait till the end to throw out the banner for that. It's going to be an all-star of all-star cast next week. And it's going to be called something to the effect. Well, you'll see it. You'll see it. Just sit to the end on that. But it's going to be a monster Gabbin next Sunday night. All right. So we get to the point where you have all these other, like, all right, so Dark Brotherhood should be my big one. The Slavers, IUs, of course, and all the Greater Boneheart. All these pics of them are courtesy of Dungeon Meister off DeviantArt, who's given me explicit permission to use anything he has in his Greyhawk pictures on his Greyhawk campaign on any of my streams. Thank you so much, Dungeon Meister. And let me see if I can shout his site out here. I think I have it on here. Yep, that should work it. Okay, if you want to see some really cool stuff. So, and that's Panjazek there. And the next picture is Panjazek, the figure that Bill painted right there. That's Panjazek, the actual painted figure we have of him. So I love IUs. I love Fasoloses. I love freaking Lossels. I love Varangoans. I love all the Orogs, all the crazy stuff. And good versus evil is a great thing. We do it all the time in the Shield lands. So, but you also have your little smaller groups and organizations, and I'd like to highlight them instead of the major ones. So there's a group I have called the Red Company Mercenaries. Now this group is lawful neutral / lawful evil based, and a lot of them are Hex Store worshippers. All right, they're in that realm of they're doing the lawful stuff. Well, they are a group, a pack, and I had them that they were from like Ernst, but they came over to Greyhawk and the western side of the map as undead hunters. Okay, so but they're lawful neutral, lawful evil. So they're doing this for contracts. So we've had them go after certain player characters in some instances because they thought that they were helping them against undead, like high-level undead. And then not this build, the other build's characters, his name was Kane, and he was kind of like afflicted with vampirism but wasn't a vampire, and they went after him because, that's I did that one time, guys. I know everyone likes to let someone play someone with vampirism, and then you go, that's not a good idea after that, right? So you do it one time. So, hey, Big Mac, what's going on? I need to get those other Greyhawk links added to my other Greyhawk websites. Hey, Piazza.
Hi, David. Yep.
Go ahead. Oh yeah, hey David. There's your hit up right there. I knocked you up there too. So yeah, the Bone Heart and Bone Shatter are very cool as well. You got Lord Obney and you got all those other Gleek and you got all those in there as well as an evil organization.
Yeah, and Ayus is such a major villain, and meaning he's the head of an empire, so you can invent kind of cool organizations that kind of works for Ayus that are more or less connected, so to speak. So there you have there's an opening for to invent new villain organization where you have a master villain behind it, whether you want to introduce it or not. So there is a bunch, but and villain sidekicks can be kind of also an asset you can kind of in my Real Devon campaign. I had Black Splinter with an evil vampire prince, Ferdinand, and I realized that he was too powerful. He had this Shadwell was his sidekick, a small one, but he was kind of too stereotypical. So I realized that they have a marshland outside and swampy area outside their castle, and I realized that even vampires, they don't want to do gardening and keep their parks in order or kind of nasty enough. So he had hired a hag to do the job. So Ishma, she was the groundskeeper, so to speak, and she became one of the kind of interesting villains. And she ran a little magic component shop and a little inn where you could actually come in and buy all sorts of nasties to use for your spells and stuff. So.
Are you at your parents still?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, helping them downsize and move.
Okay. Oh, they're finally moving to
PA? Not yet, but just downsizing.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Downsize.
So Anna's got some great ideas, and guess what? A lot of it we're gonna Anna will throw some tidbits out here and there, but we're gonna do during Virtual Greyhawk Con and Anna Meyer, the campaign of Anna Meyer with map attachments seminar on Friday night of Virtual Greyhawk Con. It's going to be awesome. And then we're going to go right into Will's going to have Wicked Studios will have a game right after that. So that's our Friday night's already booked up already for Virtual Greyhawk Con, which is awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
Yep, definitely. So
thank you, Cold Steel Penguin.
Yeah, absolutely. The small spy Shadow Claw. There's a Shadow Claw, Blown Shadow. They're the two in that area.
Yeah.
So evil wise, Tim, I know you threw a bunch out there, but now that you're here and we have you, let's get the one that you had founded out of the way there, the Mongrels of the Putrid Tongue. So explain a little bit the thought process on this group in your era, and then what I did.
The thought process is based in the books where it describes orcs that they'll breed with anything. And just the fact they have a half-orc as a main demi-human character you can have is obvious. And it was, we were doing a show and talking to Jason. He mentioned one of those early adventures with a UNT.
Yeah.
The UNT, the Snake Man. Well, in that adventure, there's a creature called a Mongrel Man. And I remember reading about the Mongrel Man, and then the epiphany happened.
We can just
and I said,
orcs with anything.
Mongrels. We got to have some mongrels of mixing a bunch of stuff. So then that's how that kind of started me off down the road doing.
Yeah. And that's a good Greyhawk tradition, meaning Gary Gygax did the same thing with apes and orcs, like lucils and olossals, however you pronounce it. And
And I think some of those the half breeding fits into the darker side thing too, because we're not talking about voluntary participants, you know.
No, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, but
right.
not a lot of it. So that's the dark shade of it. And then that's what kind of sparked the idea in my head, and then took a while to think about it. Mongrels of the what? That was it took me a while to think, and then I came up with
the Putrid Tongue.
Putrid tongue.
And they don't kill you. They incapacitate you, and then as a trophy, take your tongue out, and then they put their right on their shields and they animate them. And the more tongues you have, especially of humans and other upper races, the more status you have. But I took it one step further, and mine was, why can't you breed an orc and an elf? And the whole basis of them is I can breed it. I had like orc centaurs. I had all sorts of crazy stuff, right? But had to figure out how an orc and an elf could breed. Well, they solved that mystery, but then it was lost because years ago, about 15 years ago, the main antithesis was killed off. His name was Travis Crabtree, and so what happened then? That book, remember that book, a couple pages were found in the Living Greyhawk adventure we did, as we attempted. I did everything I could to try and rip a tongue out or two, but it just didn't happen. And it was
I was so disappointed.
I was disappointed too, because I didn't get to play this.
You were too. Jay is always a good balancer.
I didn't get to play this video. I apologize for the gore up front. We'll play it one more. We haven't played it in a while.
Enough of this shit. Give him the tongue. Thanks for the lick.
That really looks like a tongue. It looks awesome.
Yes.
Did it have sound? I didn't have any sound.
Oh yeah.
It has sound, but too soon we can't hear the sound.
It's Tim's daughter making the gagging noise as she gets, which is even better. So. Yes, Casey says it's the greatest fandom short vid ever done for D&D. That was Casey. That's high praise from him.
That is.
Yes.
I will say the tongue is actually a piece of leather. It's fairly thick and a tongue shape. And then I drew a line down the middle because I noticed looking at severed tongues and that there's a crease down the middle.
Yeah.
From the natural fold. And then it covered it with blood. Fake blood.
Yes, but you can only do it for so many seconds there, Lord. It's got to be quick and like, wow, what happened? You know what I mean? And plus we don't want to offend that many other people that we want to get that over quickly, that vid. So, doing it on Twitch, but it's kind of amusing. So. The mongrels are around, and the mongrels always will exist because there'll always be those that want to do this breeding in my game. And we brought them out in the first Living Greyhawk game. I will promise you we will be going away from that in the next one this upcoming Saturday. It'll be a totally different direction because these Living Greyhawk guys and gals, Anna, are crazy paranoid about all sorts of different things. I don't know how they get these things in their head. They're thinking that the Order of Yolk's an evil organization now. It's crazy stuff, crazy talk from them. So we're going to go a different direction this time, and Anna's going to play with them this Saturday. So that'll make it a fun time. Well, I'll show you what that's going to be about coming up. But they'll be paranoid after we talk at the end of the show. They'll be paranoid again, which will make that fun. So that So Tim, you're going to utilize that group in your campaign in your city-state a little bit more again, right?
The mongrels?
Yeah.
Yes, there's going to be some old-school mongrel horror going on. And the mongrels of the Putrid Tongue are one tribe of mongrels.
Right, so you're going to have some more stuff.
So there's going to be other mongrels, not just collecting tongues.
Yeah. Yeah, so Thessalonians says screaming would accompany it, but it was still pretty compelling. Too realistic is probably not good for game. I agree. It was a little, Tim dressed up for it, so it's a little. Come on, we wanted to show that right after someone during the adventure got their tongue cut out, and that didn't happen. It was so disappointing.
Yeah, you really worked hard, but
we worked hard, even throwing hero points the DM's way. All right, so.
Yeah.
Tim, you got any campaign-wise you want to talk about? Persons, individuals, organizations?
Bad organizations?
Yeah, or bad individuals that you like in mind. I can think of one.
Yours?
Yeah.
Greyhawk?
1 or 2. My campaign. Or named.
Where does Lisden fall in and all that?
All right, so Lisden on Saturday night a week ago, I decided I'm going to introduce John and his group to Lisden, which is he's a bounty hunter, but he's like neutral with evil tendencies. He is more evil than he is neutral. And it's been a character, and the figures from the original Fighters box set. I mean, that's how old it is. It's the first thing I ever had as a kid. And he's a bounty hunter. He's kind of on his own. He kind of doesn't pay homage to any organization, even though he put out the Altamira name there to sound cool. So you always need a nuisance character, Anna. Not an ultimate evil character, but a character that's a thorn in the side of party members sometimes. It just is there, and it just drives you crazy.
That's definitely one of Jay's rules.
It's because...
sorry, go on.
Go ahead, Anna.
I was going to say that's a role where you can have a sidekick to a major villain that can fill that role perfectly, so to speak. They can be annoying as hell and kind of tricksy and difficult and stuff. So major villains should always have various henchmen that you can kind of tease and taunt and use to fill various things, and could be cannon fodder on the way, so to speak. And you should always have enough that you can. A few of them should be expendable during the way, during the and some that can be turned or bribed and stuff like that. So not all of them should be there to be conquered or killed in combat. Some of them can be, you can turn them one way or the other, so to speak. You can bribe them to stay away. You can fool them, and so you try and always, for the adventure party, to give different type of opening and try to see if they can come up with, because not everything should be a fight using normal weapons and stuff. So and have things like standoffs and stuff. If you make it really so deadly sometimes that it can be kind of a standoff, and have the characters can meet the master villain outside the big city, where the big city is enough of a deterrent that it can be scary and or scary even for a master villain, because I don't want to upset like a big city, but the characters know that when they leave that city, they're in trouble, so to speak. So you can use all sorts of ominous things coming and so on. It doesn't need to be a direct confrontation. It might even be a villain who comes and taunt them and just even give them help and say that, well, you make it through the night and stuff, because I want you to come closer to my lair so I can kill you later and stuff like that. Use them for good sports. And I've been kind of cruel that way. I had a black dragon that basically taunted that was the one that living next to Ishma and Black Splinter with Ferdinand. That was one of his others, and she just liked to hunt different things, and the characters were kind of interesting. So she swooped down and got one of the characters, just lifted up and took off with and disappeared with, and then she was laying a trap. She was in the little river, and she was waiting in there, and the characters were finding that perfect campsite, and the not Rishnal, I forgot her name now, but anyway, so she was in there, and black dragons, they foul the water, so the characters were like, I say we roll perception, and they roll perception, and one of them say it stinks here, it kind of smells, and they walked around and said, it comes from the water and swampy. Yeah, it's a swampy, and there's a dead goat floating around, and they were like, okay, there's a dead goat floating around. They didn't think more about that, so they had the camp in the middle of the night, of course. Then she struck. Yeah, she struck, so to speak. So one of the characters got close, and they heard something, bubbles coming, and so the dragon blew bubbles, and the characters were down there, and they took one of the characters, just dragged them under, and then the characters, what do we do now? We can't just go down there, something big and whatever, and then that was a very interesting fight, because the characters were so reluctant to get into the fight, and she just spit the character half dead out on the other side, and waiting to get the other one, because she didn't want to kill them. She just wanted to have fun and steal some of the shiny bits and stuff.
That was a sidebar too. That wasn't even the main
exactly
part.
That was not the master. Exactly, that was not the master villain. She was just interested in doing it. She had her bargain keeping, all the nasty good creatures and others away from her Ferdinand's castle and guard it. And in return, she got treasure and stuff like that, and a nice, cozy place to live. But she wanted entertainment. That was more than anything. She got bored, and so she needed that. So there are all sorts of things, and the characters probably didn't realize that didn't make sense to begin with, so to speak. But
Boredom's
she was,
not a good
yeah.
thing.
Nope.
For
And
those
especially
kind
when
of
you live for
characters.
1,000 years. Yeah.
Yeah. See, I just put a little bounty hunter against you guys. Anna puts dragons as a sidebar.
Well, they were like 10th, 12th
Okay.
level characters. So yeah, so they needed a beefed up opposition. Ishma was not that big of a deal anymore. They got her to on the run for a bit, but she had a hag coven, so to speak. So, but she fled to the Pomarsh. Actually, that's where they got her to run off to. Yeah.
Excellent.
I think mixing the water, the horror of drowning and getting caught in muck added to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Really heightens the whole, just the horror of it all.
Yeah.
Because it's scary enough even without putting a dragon there.
Yeah.
So the sidebar evil character can be a lot of fun. And John reminded me of my turn of a character who I was on the border with in the Temple of Mental Evil, and it drove Tim crazy. Okay, and that was Leo. Yeah, it was an archer thief, and just right in the middle of the Temple of Elemental Evil, he's like, I don't like it. He's thinking to himself, he's chaotic neutral, probably a little evil tendencies, and he's thinking to himself, I don't like any of these people I'm adventuring with. Why am I sticking around? So I did exactly what a chaotic, stupid, with evil tendencies character would do. He waited till a weak point came in a fight, and he's an archer, and he's down a hall, and he starts picking off the player characters, right? Makes total sense. Tim was there for that. And I remember how infuriated Tim was by it, which made it all more pleasurable. So
well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with those, and for some reason, and it's not just with Jay, it's with other DMs I've played with. There's that person who's a traitor. There's a character, and then I'm just thinking I should kill this person right away. I should just kill them right now.
Yeah.
And I don't, and then this always happens. I mean, every single time I have this deep, visceral, negative response, I should kill this person right away.
Yeah.
It happened in Shadowrun. It happened in, almost every game system I've played. Sometimes when there's a traitor and I don't know they're a traitor yet, I have this deep, visceral reaction.
Yeah.
You told the other group to kill Lisden right away.
You told John, the Blue Box group, to kill Lisden. Can you imagine first level characters killing an 11th level bounty hunter? It's not happening.
I didn't know it was Lisden, but I just had that visceral response of this person to be killed.
and sometimes I think it's awesome when the players do that. Because because in my campaigns they're very open-ended. They can end anyway, so to speak. So sometimes I like it when the players can get that kind of catharsis, meaning we dealt with it right away, and damn, we just succeeded, and one of the major villain comes and the characters just beat the crap out of the villain and be done with it.
I have to add this caveat just for public safety, and that is, it only happens when I'm playing D&D or other role-playing games. It doesn't happen in reality.
Exactly. Yes, that's the thing. Yeah.
So here's an instance
I never had that feeling normally.
I have an instance that relates to Tim on Insta Attack. We're doing a Dreadwood mini campaign, and I had a fox woman in there. I mean, the fox women are nasty. If you know what a fox woman is, look it up. I think Monster Manual 2. And so she came out as looking as an elf, all nice and all charming to the party in an encampment. And Tim's dad, John, and I forget which paladin it was of his, is sitting there looking at her as she comes in. And he just looks at her and he goes, I detect evil on her. And I said, oh, yeah, you detect strong evil. And just out of the blue, he stands up and goes, you're evil. And he goes right after her and he starts attacking her. She didn't even get a chance to even really parlay or anything. Yeah, so John went right after her. And that was the end of because normally I try and sneak in that really nice person and that she's an anti-paladin or something. Yeah. So
I got to roll. I have to roll duty call. So I appreciate you guys.
All right, Tim. We'll see you. See you later on. Yeah, so Tim and his dad have some very good sometimes they get that feeling, and you may want to. It's hard to just attack someone for no reason, though. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially in the
But I
D&D
think
game.
it's sometimes important for players to have that kind of meaning they get
Foreboding.
the accomplishment and like, damn, we out of the blue, so to speak, that they should have, just like there should be setbacks, there should be kind of advances in a campaign coming from nowhere, so to speak. And there should not be, games should not be predictable. That's some of the things like organized play. Some of the I love is that you get so much technical good encounters that are well balanced and technically challenging and variable and so on. But the story is like 3 encounters with little puzzle in between. And I don't like games that follow that kind of routine, like a computer game. You have the boss at the end, and then you have you get the treasure afterwards and stuff. It's like, no, I want to, meaning characters should be able to take it in whatever random order the world throws the stuff at them, or they find it, so to speak.
And sandboxing style like that is awesome. And
Yeah, but it can be boring too at times.
Well,
if yeah, you can get stuck in not finding the threads, and for some players, yeah,
it's difficult to stream.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Sandboxing style is a
Yeah.
major challenge to stream.
Yeah, because
but
you have to kind of go around searching.
Especially-
You might not find anything.
especially with miniatures,
Yep.
terrain all set up, it's tough.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it's not doable. But there's all different sorts of options out there
Yep.
that can make it. All right, I'm going to the Cult of the Reptile God with a fox. Well, Cult of the Reptile God is a
Yeah,
great
that's another
adventure.
gamma
Yeah,
classic.
and foreshadowing. I talked to Mike Saxton about this. He said he wants to run N1 and then all 3 of Leonard's. I said, that's brilliant. Where are you going to place it? And he said, I'm not sure yet. And then I said, I want to see how smart you guys are. We're going back to the maps. Okay, we have our Narwhal campaign coming up. I'll mention this again in 2 weeks, but here's my map of Narwhal. And if anyone notices anything on this, you got to really know the terrain. You got to really know the towns. So if anyone, I'll give you guys like 10 seconds and I'll give it away. So there's Narwhal, and there's a whole bunch of areas around it. Anyone see anything that's wrong or out of place? All right. If you got to know this area of the map. Lorraine is Orlane, just spelled differently. So I plan on running. I've never run N1. I'm planning on the Narwhal campaign actually running against the Cult of the Reptile God. I've never run it and streaming it, and that'll be in whenever down there rain. But see, you can replace stuff like that wherever you so choose on your map, and you can. And that's what I said to Retro Gamer Meth. Just, hey man, wherever you place it, you can place N1, L1, L2, L3. There's plenty of places to place it. Keerland, you could keep it in the Grand March. You could put it in Sterich. You could put it in the Great Kingdom. You could put it in Ratic. It doesn't. You'll find a place if you don't want to go into the Western Fur Island. So the whole point of that is that you can port over evil antitheses too. Like Brian has done a real good job with Sakatha from Tomb of the Lizard King, using him as an arch nemesis in his campaign. So you can do that a lot with evil. All right, I got another great organization. I hope this doesn't offend anyone, because once again, this is in my teenage years, and everyone knows what Amazons are in Greek mythology, right? Greek Roman mythology, Amazons have their own island, and Wonder Woman's an Amazon, right? And there's no men allowed at all on the island, none. So I said, that sounds like a great idea to bring in the D&D, kind of, except have an evil spin to it. So I have made up this heraldry symbol just recently. Anna approved.
I think it's cool. Yeah,
thank you. And that is this. Okay, I have a group, and I'll tell you the adventure. I gotta see if I can hold this up right here. Okay, this is the group, the Amazons of the Crimson Moon. All right. I ran this adventure back, I think it was number 142. So we're going ways back. The Amazons of the Crimson Moon love corrupting men to their evil ways. Now, it's a sea-based group, so they have ships, but there can be some, that are working on land. It's kind of the organization of it's women empowerment in an evil
fantasy style. Yeah.
fantasy style evil form. So
Yeah.
they have pink sails, and the Crimson Moon is their symbol, and they love taking paladins and having them turning them into fallen paladins, and they did that to Emerson Winchester in my campaign, and he was a fallen paladin for the rest of his life, and he was only a cavalier. He lost his paladinhood. So I have decided, and Walt has one of his characters in this group, in the Hiltless Swords. Her name's Tyra, whose father was dragged away by them when she was young. Kind of like, and they're active. They're nowhere near as active as the slavers, but you may once in a blue moon see one of their ships. So I'm going to pull them back a little bit more and utilize them. Just like I said, I'm foreshadowing a couple adventures coming up soon. So you may have. That's not a strawberry. See, that's it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who saw strawberry.
It's a heart.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's shaped. That's
but
the way.
It looks like a strawberry, but it's shaped like a strawberry, and it has
That's
these
awesome.
little seeds on it. So,
yeah, it's actually a bleeding heart, and I didn't want to make that red. That's funny, DM. Yeah, it's a heart. It's a heart inside the Crimson Moon, with spikes through it. Kind of like for the piercing of the heart. Guys, I'll attempt to see if I can squeeze the heart down. I'm not that good with Photoshop.
You should get this little seeds gone and make it into a heart.
So just take the bleeding away.
You can make a black heart if they are evil, kind of.
That's a good idea. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
It's
you can make it.
evil.
Yeah,
now my balls are gonna get busted all day long, but
Depends
that's okay,
on
guys.
what they might not see themselves as evil. So yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I can take it. I can take it. So I have a character who, an NPC who, it was the first 2 streams I ever did, and it was her name is Shannon Maynham from one of the major families in Harby. And this character is a pirate, and so they did missions for her. They captured her.
Oops, we lost you. We lost audio. I think we lost. Exactly, we lost you. Yep. You unplugged somehow. Yep.
All right.
So now you're back again. Good.
Duh.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So I may have Shannon Maynham. Her nickname is Knuckle Paler. Yes. She liked putting swords or daggers to inflict pain on someone she didn't like not through the middle of the hand, but right through the knuckles. That would be pretty gross, and sticking them to a wall, as punishment. So yeah, a typical evil character. So with a really a streak of anger within her. So I may have her join up that group too. So yes, it's nice artwork, absolutely. And that's another character that those early streams were very rough and very but they were fun, and I had some good storylines that a lot of people don't remember it because they weren't around at that time, so I'm going to try and bring some of that back, so that we can have a little, some of the stories are good. So all right. We'll see you during the week, and see you next week for next week's show. Will be on for next week's Gabbin show, along with some other people. So thank you so very much, Will. Okay, so Anna, evil. You got someone who sticks out that you love playing in Greyhawk? Really evil.
I have one that was a lot of fun. Was Lord Mistrin. Kind of evil. That was kind of calculated. More lawful, calculated evil, not the madmen that going spread whatever. He was more the kind of calculated work against you, so to speak. Yeah. So I had a lot of fun with Mistrin, and as that was a new type of evil, the Hextorian calculated, patient evil, so to speak. The yeah, and going from strength, will not fight unless he knew he could win, so to speak, and use his sidekicks well, and rewarded everyone who was loyal to him very well, so to speak. Not the selfish evil that way. No, he was a higher purpose, not himself, so to speak. So yeah. So there that was in a lot of interesting kind of cool things that come, and it tied into a lot of old stories and legends and stuff in Greyhawk, so from the Grey Kingdom. So that was one that I kind of, that was out of the ordinary, that I really liked. Yeah.
Did you make it that he's from the Great Kingdom, or is that somewhere in a
Yeah,
published
it's kind.
source?
It was hinted at, kind of, almost. Yeah, he comes from somewhere and had settled down and was powerful, and with a whole bunch of henchmen and stuff. So then I kind of took I took one hint, and I took a bunch of little hints and put two and two together and made four out of it, so to speak.
So someone just said, Captain Mine with the Starlight Brotherhood. Believe it or not, I do not use at all in my campaign, just because I like to keep them on the other side of the map. It's just something I just was never
Yeah, I haven't
into.
used them much. They're there, but I haven't used them much.
Yeah.
But that's for another campaign in the future, maybe. Yeah.
So in my campaign, Mistrine has a bone to pick with certain members of the Iron Brigade and Norwell, because in an earlier adventure, this is perfect timing, and with that mention, he has a daughter who went out on her own and was causing trouble to the north of his lands. And I made her an anti-paladin.
Cool.
Yeah. Well, they ended up defeating her, and so the question is, has he been able to get her cloned, or been able to get her back, or she's still dead? That'll be part of the Norwell campaign. They'll find out down the road. But he's not forgotten about that. But I wanted to wait to do something until I was actually having adventures in Narwhal, which we will shortly, to really make the full effect of pissing him off, which you don't want to do to 15th level fighters, running around the campaign. But that's a great one, absolute great one. All right, so I get my balls busted about the strawberry thing. I'll see if I can squeeze down the heart a little bit.
Yeah, when you see it the first, then it kind of
and
looks
especially
like
when it's smaller, especially when it's smaller.
Yeah, and you have the little seeds on it, so to speak. Those, but they are seeds like on the strawberry. So yeah, there was two things, that the color, three things: the color, the shape, and the seeds that makes it into a strawberry. So yeah.
The drow and blue males, low level priests. Yeah, I always Dark Elves are always evil in the campaign.
Yeah.
And we talk about Dark Elves a lot, as far as I really don't like what happened to Dark Elves because of Forgotten Realms. Really, made them overpowered, and they made them all dual wielding, crazy Drizzt-like characters, and they're not that way at all. They're not.
Yeah, I kind of bought into that to some degree, because if the females are the drows are the fancy clerics and high priestesses and the ones that have most of the power, then I saw the men have to kind of perfect something, so the fighting styles and stuff, and I to me Drizzt was too much of an influence to not. So I kind of bought into it to some degree. Yeah.
I understand why, because it's everywhere. It was everywhere.
Yeah. So I kind of bought, but not completely, but to some degree. And also, I think I've also taken the my elves, meaning the dark elves, are the evil elves, and they are not universally evil, but they are predominantly evil. And that's also something that the normal elves are predominantly good. They're born neutral, so to speak, just like humans. But I have some, and I'm going to tell my story about the elves on the seminar. But there's I've done some cool stuff with the Sylvan and the Wild and the Gray and stuff like that, that I've tried to stay true to some degree to the Greyhawk lore, not in the mechanic sense, but in the kind of the cultural sense, so to speak. And so elves are important to me. I love the elves. They're some of and they were kind of the powerhouse to begin with. So they've been around. So yeah.
Yeah, I think Cold, you want to look in D3. There's much higher than 4th level clerics in Vault of the Drow, and that's from 1979-80. There's a much higher level.
And then since I used when I started playing 3rd edition, then levels went through the roof. So anyone can be basically
Clavdra is like
Oh yeah,
depending
like
on what you
20.
look at,
Yeah,
whether
she's like level 18 to 20 or something.
yeah, and she's
Yeah.
dark elf female cleric,
Hmm.
so it
Yeah.
depends on whether she's lawful elder, elemental
Yeah,
god.
I would even have her in my campaign probably as a low level deity. She's
Yeah,
immortalized herself, so to speak.
which is
She's
kind of like
on the
Merlin,
verge of doing, yeah, she's on the
Kellen.
verge of doing it. So she's been around so many high powered beings and whatnot, so she might not die that easily. So yeah.
So you can have a bunch of evil individuals, and I always like, and we've, as Tim pointed out, I like to throw a wrench in there a lot of times and have them an annoyance character. And we talked about Lisden, and there's a couple others in the campaign. And the biggest one, this one's more of a legend. And I know Tim wanted to talk about it, and I will, because it's going to lead into something else. No, they're not. Well, males maybe, depending on what source you're looking at, but females not. Yeah. So. Lita, her neutral clone. Well, you got to
Yeah.
remember this. There's so many. A Clavdra goes like this, 500 different directions.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a novel, and there's all these, for like Star Trek or Star Wars, and there's all these different writers, and they contradict each other. After D3, and after that whole thing with a Clavdra and the whole G series, she's behind the scenes doing, basically behind them. Good night, Mike. Thank you so very much. It gets really scattered what to believe with a Clavdra, and you just got to decide yourself.
Yeah,
at that point.
the good thing is that then you should read the Gord books, because there El Krabda comes back in big time, so to speak. It's awesome. Yeah, so you get, and that's where Leda come from too, or Leda, or however you pronounce it. So El Clavdra is one of the major villains in the Gord books, and she's just awesome.
Yeah. And no, Thunder, Shadow Same Lord Loth used to be a Reshni. No, not necessarily. Once again, there's so many divergent discussions on Dark Elves. And I did a whole episode on Gabbin probably a year ago on Dark Elves, and how it just is all over the place because of what happened with them and with R.A. Salvatore books and Forgotten Realms. It's tough to...
Exactly. They became such a major force in Forgotten Realms and in fantasy in general. But one of the cool thing is that it's a D&D race. It doesn't come from Tolkien or Lord of the Rings or anything like that. It's originally a Gary Gygax's invention, I think, and set in Greyhawk to begin with, and then Forgotten Realms kind of stole the idea and went rampant with it. And I kind of like some of what they invented, so I kind of brought it back into Greyhawk again. So meaning they stole something and then I steal it back again. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just typing in here. Rethix, I agree with you. That's great, because that Neverwinter Nights version is what you know. But my Bible's D3, because there's the fighter societies, there's the male and female fighter societies in there. There's all the merchant clans. There's all the.
Yeah.
It really is very well done, and it shows you that most of their fighting styles is weapon, like longsword, buckler, hand crossbow. That's kind of what the way that they're set up. So just check that out, and then you get a little bit more of a feel of where I'm coming from on that. But that's, everyone has their main points of starting, and yeah, Bishop agreed.
Yeah, and I also think that all the awesome art that came with the Drist books and Forgotten Realms Drow probably that kind of set the tone, because there's so many awesome illustrations, and the Menso Branson box set and all the books and stuff that were, because the production values of all the Forgotten Realms stuff was way higher. Each of those had more illustrations than all the Greyhawk stuff prior to that. So that, I think, is one of the other reasons we got so many beautiful pictures and well-made art that depicts the drow. So that is, I think, is one of the major reasons that text can't really compete with really beautiful art.
Well, yeah, and that is 100% true. And I know one thing. How many that they published, because when you go on eBay and you look for the prices of box sets, they're all $100 plus, even the real crappy ones, right? Like the red steel boxes now. But the Menzo Baronson ones are like $20, $25, $30 because they must have printed thousands of them.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah, might have been one of the few box sets for TSR that they actually made a profit on, or at least they
Oh my
I
gosh.
think one of the most sold ones. So they must have priced it wrong if they didn't make a profit on it. So yeah.
Yeah, so that just shows you that how popular that is, and that's how.
Mhm.
And I understand, and there's nothing wrong with having that view on Dark Elves. There isn't,
Yeah,
but
but it's also one of the first things that went into, I would say, normal fantasy pop culture that kind of left the realms of D&D and became broader. Because I think that if there are any books that are closely related to D&D that a lot of non D&D players have read, it's the Destroyed books.
yeah, there more than anything else. That is the number one. I
Yeah.
think possibly the reason for the success of D&D back in the 80s and 90s
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the Ari Salvatore books. I mean,
Yeah.
my gosh, it was just like
And I
crazy.
think if Wizards of the Coast want to make a movie or a TV series about something, I think the Destroyed books are perfect material.
Oh,
for that.
absolutely, absolutely, definitely. Disagree on the art thing; it's great and all, but the fundamentally game. Yeah, that's true, but you got to remember, DM, you're coming at it from our perspective, not the next generation. It's the same thing with 5e. If
Mhm.
from our perspective, it's play to win. From their perspective, it's fantastic because of what the role play aspects of it are, and I
Yeah.
understand that, and so
There's
yeah,
this is a typical, I think, thing where there is no right or wrong, so to
no,
speak. You
correct.
can play role-playing games more like a war game or a skirmish game where it's all about mechanics, it's all about winning and so on, and that's perfectly fine. But the important thing I think is that all the people that are in the game group sitting around the table can agree that this is the kind of, at least within the parameters of how they want to play the game, because then you can play it. Meaning one end, it's basically improv theater with a little bit of rules. That's one end of the spectrum. And the other one is kind of, I would say, a pure rule-based skirmish game with hardly no role play at all. And D&D is such an awesome game that it spans that whole continuum, so to speak.
All right, so
Yeah.
what happens? This will be my last one of the night. This will be good. What happens when one of your own PCs becomes the ultimate evil antithesis in the party?
Oh, yeah. Have you had that in your games?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
oh yes, and it really
Intentionally or just happened?
it happened over 15 to 20 years. So this is what happened here is the following, and I have. Let me just stop this here. So I put in kind of like where Bilbo just finds the ring lying there, right? A character, and it's Bill's character, and if he's on, Cheshire Scorn, Bill's character, Salen Shadowmoon, who found this crown in a little pond in the sand in a cave in the Cairn Hills. Okay, and here's the crown. That's the crown of Jared Bloodmoon. It turns out that thousands of years ago, Sul era migrations, this guy was like Tulsa Doom, and just with mind control had this cult of his out there, following him around, dying at his will. So the party takes this crown and hides it from him in the Night Watchman's main headquarters. Well, eventually, the Erythnol and the Old Mother Grub people in Greyhawk figure out a way to get it, and they put it on Salen's head. And Salen becomes this megalomaniac crazy person. Salen is, like Bill said, Salen is he's watching, is the greatest. By the way, this is the character who's going to send you, Anna, on your mission Saturday night.
Wow.
Okay?
That's it.
You'll see. So he has this crown on. This is at my old house. This is how long ago this was.
So if he has the crown on next to Jennifer, my character would just bolt and run into the hills.
He doesn't have the crown on anymore.
Okay,
so
good. Yeah.
Maybe he gives a lack of RP. Do you guys used to play with little to no RP in the early days? No, Thunder. It's just that's just the way we've always played the very similar way. It's just it evolved into more and more terrain and miniatures and stuff. Okay, so there is Swain, you know how Swain's tower is now in Altamira and with the Falcon. That's the
Yeah.
old one I used, and that's Gilthanus's body, his son. And so remember, Salen had taken pieces of all his party members when they got limbs cut off and stuff. And this is Bill, so he had 4 different pieces of Alan's character Milana. So he cloned all of them. So he has all these evil minions of player characters. This was so fantastic, guys. I wish I had streamed this. Running around, doing all these things, all evil. So he had an evil Swain. He had all these evil characters. So, well, here's in the Cairn Hills, the party, and look, you can see how, look that you think I have it nice now. In comparison to this basement, yes. They find this place, and this is not, the next 2 pictures are so fuzzy because they were taken on an iPad ages ago. So they're sailing on the top of this ziggurat as Rogero Blood Moon, and look at all the dead bodies all over the place. He had all these followers around. It's mass carnage everywhere. So they have to figure out a way to kill Salen and get the crown off his head. So this is the Iron Brigade. This is a major fight going on. You know, when you're neutral evil and there's people will die at your will because you have this ultra powerful artifact on your head. There you go. So he has all these. He also can control beholders with it, which made it even more nasty.
Wow.
So there's the fight, and there's Salen on the top of the ziggurat, and they're trying to work their way up, and this was just such a great time. And I had started this 15 to 18 years beforehand, him finding it, and it marched all the way up to this. This also is how Old Mother Grubs got destroyed permanently, because Old Mother Grub and her group or behind this. They went in and they killed Old Mother Grub. They went in and they raised it, just like it says in From the Ashes. A paladin goes in, and well, that's what happened in our campaign. That's how Old Mother Grubs got taken care of. So there you go. So they kill him. They get the crown off his head. It's old Carol Lee, Cleric Necromancer, Salen again, the deputy guildmaster of the Gravediggers and Embalmers and Greyhawk. He's back to himself. He's back in the party. What can you do? He didn't willingly someone else put the crown on him. So what is the decision you make? You gotta let the guy, even though he's chaotic neutral, they let him back in the group. So he's been good since then. So you're just gonna have to see what he wants you to do on Saturday night, Anna and Casey and all the other.
Yeah.
So there you go. And so that is when you get an adventure, when you have a player character go evil on you in your own group. And what do you do at the end? Do you destroy him permanently, or do you move on from it? So
I had a group that kind of turned evil without really realizing it. So when they realized that, what they did was that they started out being murder hoboing. That they hadn't played that long. They were beginners at playing. So I started them up, and I presented so many cool things, and they realized, oh, these nasty buggers, let's get rid of them. So they started killing left and right.
Oh my
and
gosh.
Then more and more people showing up, and they got posse, and so they basically became hunted by the whole neighborhood around, because no one wanted them, because they became the thugs and the villains of the countryside, and they didn't realize it because I just let them play. And when they finally realized that, when they started getting offering from the big evil ones to say, oh, you can come and work for me because I need people like you who are out killing and are really good at using axe and sword and have no qualms about who they kill. And then they were like, someone say, we might be the evil ones around here. And then we all laughed, and I laughed, and I said, yeah, but so and then it was like, they were like, yeah, so we skip it. So then they roll new characters, and we started the campaign again. So, but it was a good, but there was some fun. And the good thing was that they didn't realize it. They just went on a murdering hoboing spree, because they were like target rich environment, and the more they killed, the more things popped up, and they had fun. And yeah, so it was kind of, and I had that period too. I think we all as role players have that. Meaning it's there, it walks, then okay, needs to be killed.
It's a slippery slope that you can take in D&D, where you can just slip over to that evil side, and before you know it, you have Knights of the Heart or whoever coming after you, and then there's no going back at that point. I mean, it's kind of I don't want to permanently get rid of Bill's character at that point because he's built that character up from first level, Cleric Necromancer.
And it's also different because meaning they put a crown on him and that was supposed to turn his alignment around. This is something the players did without even realizing
willingly.
it. So yeah.
So you absolutely. You can fall pretty quickly, and like I said, the Amazons of the Crimson Moon, of the Crimson Strawberry. I'm just going to call them that from now on. You know, they that's what they're out. They're out to make paladins and other good males, especially, fall to evil ways, and it's in D&D. You got to be real careful. I mean, playing alignment's not an easy thing sometimes, and I have a feeling that's why they got rid of it in 5th edition. You know, I think that's a shame because I really love alignment.
It's an essential part of the game, I think, but it's something that requires a consideration because you might want to play it one way or the other, and how much you want to emphasize it and stuff. That's something you need to kind of work on because there are many different ways of doing it depending on what style of campaign you do it. So how you run your games.
I hope I know Greyhawk Mike's on now, and I'm saying I hope we can get Brian Doherty. We can get him on Legends and Lore. That would be great. Him on a show. So, all right. So 9:20. So it may take us a little while to do some shout outs here. I got a whole guys. Where do you see the content coming up this week? On the way to show number 100 for Gabbin. I mean, this is I'm excited. There's Gary.
Yay!
There he is.
Yeah, and thank you, Thunder Bay, for liking some of my dragon ideas. I think that's one of the monsters that I kind of tweaked for my campaign. Yep.
Good to see you, Gary. Yes, you missed a. I'm sending
Gary,
a message.
welcome.
Yes. We're gonna talk. We're gonna talk about show 100. You missed Tim, and you missed another mongrel look, and and things, Gary. But that's okay. We're gonna do some unbelievable announcements now that you're gonna like. So, I don't know what's going on with you.
I launched the first map from the Atlas is on my Patreon site. So at Anna B. Meyer. Oh, sorry, at patreon.com/Anna B. Meyer. And it will be accompanied by a longer post on my website coming soon. And there will be more maps, Atlas maps coming the next week. I have one follow-up already ready to go. And there will probably be 2 more. So it might be 3 more coming the next week.
Nice.
So production is underway. Yep. So that will kind of, so you can expect at least 1 per week, hopefully several per week from now on until it's done. So that's the major thing that I'm working on. And then I have some other ideas and stuff that I'm tweaking my campaign map a little bit too, and building and I'm also learning Fantasy Grounds because I want to I played using Fantasy Grounds, but I want to run games in Fantasy Grounds. So that's one of my study topics now. So to set up my campaign in Fantasy Grounds too.
Brian's our resident expert with that in 5e, and then Mike Wilson in 2e. So both really good at that. That is awesome.
Yep.
So, is that it for you? Wow.
That's it.
No,
because the Atlas.
What's going on Saturday?
Week? Yes, but I'm waiting for you to.
Oh, okay.
all the cool stuff. So,
all right.
I didn't want to spill any of your beans. So,
all right, let's go over this week coming up. So, we'll go all the way through to what I have already pre-scheduled through Gabbin number 100. All right. So if we start with Wednesday night, back to Living Greyhawk, Bandit Kingdom Stories. So I know we have Susan Threadgill and Britt and another gentleman coming on with Casey to give us their experience. We'll have 2 new people who have not been on the show before that are Living Greyhawk, giving their experiences in the Bandit Kingdoms, and we'll get some new stories out of that. So that'll be Wednesday night. That'll be good to get back to that discussion in Living Greyhawk. Yeah. Bandit Kingdoms SVU, yes. Basically, it's going to be that, definitely, Gary. I'm looking forward to that talk because that sets up Saturday. That sets up our Saturday night special coming up. So we'll have that, and then Thursday nights. I already showed this. And here comes the strawberry pick again, guys. Inside, that's a little foreshadowing. So it's a one-shot game, one session. Adventure 881, the Rendezvous. It's sea-based. So it's going to start in Harby with the Hiltless Swords, and it's sea-based. So they're going to go out in their ship. Okay. So we'll see that one, and that'll be Thursday, and then we get to the weekend, and Saturday's the big game here, and that is the Living Greyhawk All-Star event, the second game we've ever run for this Living Greyhawk group. But Anna's joining the group as Ron Lundeen will not be able to make it, so Anna's playing Imri, her Ranger Mage.
Yeah.
Yes, she's going up there. The Order of Ulick, because she is petitioned to join, is sending her up there to look after this group, because when they went in the first time, Corellia found them a little strange. So Imri's going to be basically a semi-spy in the group. She didn't even tell Anna this yet. Well, you're good. You're good alignment. You want to make sure that they're not up to nefarious deeds.
Yep.
Right? So, well, Thunder, we're going to do crossovers and other stuff down the road. Blue Box is going to run with it for themselves for a while, but probably down the road, yes. We'd hope so. So look, this group: Joe Selby, Casey Brown, Andy McCullough, Susan Threadgill, Vernon Vincent, and Anna Meyer. And that evil guy with the crown on, sailing, Bill's character is the one sending them on the very simple request. So there you go. So we'll make them even more paranoid. So Midsummer's Eve's big in Sweden, isn't it?
Oh yeah, it's huge.
Awesome.
No one is sober. Everyone is out. Yep.
That's awesome, Rethix. Good to hear. I'm glad you're going to be enjoying yourself.
That's
with
awesome. Today, let me my. Yep.
Next Sunday. You ready for this? Yep. So this idea came to me from a lot of people asking. You had your placing introduction at Greyhawk. So let's just talk about. No, that's hostile. That's a different country. Yeah. Gabbin, Lord Peakshaven next week, 98. Make a Greyhawk campaign your own. So we're going to have every streamer on that does Greyhawk content on a regular basis on the show. We're going to have Anna on. We're going to have Brian, Brian Sublime, because he does 5e Greyhawk and has his Obsidian portal. Carlos Lacing, John Birchfield from Blue Box, and William Henry Dvorak from Wicked Studios will all be on, and it'll be like a very cool question and answer session. We'll go over what cool things we do in our own campaign, how we got there, and you guys can ask questions of everyone. So we happen to specialize with a chakram. No, because I never used crazy weapons like that back in the day. Mostly
that's
swords.
Interesting. Special weapons can be fun. So
yes.
To speak.
We have tongue tools with the Mongols.
Yeah,
so.
that's you see, it might be opening for a new special weapon here. So yeah.
Awesome. All right. Skip what's going on content the week after that. But the Gabbin the week after that, Gabbin 99. We're going to do an introduction to our new Norwell setting. So we're going to start new first level characters in Norwell, and we're just going to talk about the backgrounds. It'll be like our session 0 that everyone talks about now. They do, and we'll go out and we'll discuss the characters. Tim's got a barbarian cleric, which is really awesome, as one of his characters in there. And we'll talk about what's going on in Norwell for us, who are the players, high-level characters that are sending people on missions, that kind of thing. We'll go over the background of Norwell, Gabbin. So the 4th of July weekend, we are off. We're going to take July 5th off for Gabbin because I may be away. So I just told my wife, I'm off. Let's just do that. So that's number 99, the week before 4th of July, the week after 4th of July. We finally get to 100, okay? The 100th show celebration. Well, good, Gary. In 2 weeks, you get to know more about Norwell from my campaign. Gabbin at Lord Peakshaven number 100 show. Finally, we're going to make it. Anna Meyer will be on and guests and more guests.
Yeah,
Gary, you want to come on?
We should have lots of more guests.
We're gonna anyone in the Greyhawk world community is invited. We had like 9 people on when we did number 50. So Mike, you're in.
Should
hopefully
top that and have 10 or something. Yeah.
And there's no time limit on the show. It went. The last one went. But people can bail in and out. Yeah, that'll be our 100th Gabbin. We finally will make it to that, and that'll be the Sunday after July 4th weekend. So Sunday, July 12th will be the 100th Gabbin show. We're 3 away. All right. Some talk on virtual Greyhawk Con, and I want to talk about some things that are going on. If you don't mind for a minute, let me set this up here.
Yeah.
We are at. Well, first of all, the month before, Labor Day weekend is virtual ReaperCon now, because ReaperCon got canceled. I kind of didn't announce this out on previous shows, but I can now because it's 99% in to go. They asked the Lord Gazumba channel to be the kickoff game for virtual ReaperCon that Thursday night of Labor Day weekend. So we will be
that is an honor. Yeah.
Thank you so very much. We will be actually broadcasting on ReaperCon's channel main. So, and you know the kind of audience they get. There's Tim at home. We're under announcements now, Tim. So, Gary was asking where you were. So Tim is back there. Yes. So we will be doing that. Plus, our Gabbin last Sunday was so successful that we're going to be doing a seminar during ReaperCon, probably on Reaper's main channel as well, with Mike Disney, Bill the Master Crafter, and Brian Sublime, more on Reaper products and customizing Reaper miniatures like we did last Sunday's Gabbin. So we're going to have 2 shows. So, well, here's the thing, Thunder. I've asked them for specific things that aren't even out yet from Bones 5, which they have prototypes to highlight them, and Bill will have, if we get them, Bill will have a month or so to paint them all. So we're working on getting Bones 5s that aren't even released yet. Yes. So yes, stuff that won't be out till April 2021. Thunder is
awesome.
Well, Blood, I have asked for that. I will tell you all now. It's a pipe dream. I've asked for the major 36-inch ship. I've asked for it. We'll see if they come through with that request or not, but I've asked for some other things too. So yes, no sleep for Bill. All right, so that's a month before, but virtual Greyhawk Con, we have 10 streamers, regular everyday streamers that have committed now to content during this con. So I'm really hopeful this is going to be a real great shindig. So here they are. Lord Gazumba, Wicked Studios LLC, Nightheart Gaming, Blue Box RPG, Praetor's Rejects, Carlos Lysing, Skagith, Dragons in the Dining Room, Troll Lord Games, Art of Mike Disney. That's 10.
That's awesome.
So right now, who have committed. Yeah, thank you, Thunder. Thank you so very much. It is an honor for them to ask me to do that. Definitely. I am setting up a preliminary schedule now of highlighted streams. We're working on that. And if you have not been there and you want to check it out, it's quiet a lot of times, guys, because we're so far out. But there is your Discord to the Virtual Greyhawk Con 2020 server. And we're just getting everything set up. Zarathon and Phantom are the techs for it, and they're doing great work. So I'm looking forward to a great con. Just sit tight. We're trying to get some more things moving forward. As far as maybe some other sponsors and events. But I'll say this, Anna's seminar on the campaign of Anna Meyer with all the maps, this is Eastern time right now. I'm putting up at Eastern, 7 p.m. Eastern time, Friday night of Virtual Greyhawk Con. That Friday. What's that?
Yeah.
The 3rd. Yes. No, that's the 2nd. We're going Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's October 2nd. Yeah. So that'll be awesome. So yes. Right now, go to tabletop events. Just look up Virtual Greyhawk Con. You can't log in yet. The registration starts July 1st. Events sign up of new events for DMs start going on July 1st, and then August 1st will be. It's under announcements on that Greyhawk on that Discord server. We will start allowing signups for games the month after on August 1st. Remember, this is the first weekend in October. So, can you give it to Anna's Ranger? Yes, you can. So Thunder, there you go. I will note that for Imri already has a bonus special, a regular. And so Casey mentioned this. He said, well, I know Tim's going to be out trying to kill us with special hero points, but maybe because Anna's with us now, we're going to get picked on less.
The other way around. I might be there.
What that means is that people will give more to Anna just to counteract the.
Yes.
We'll see.
Yeah. As much because I was a vested interest in the mongrels.
Yeah, I got it. Oh, sorry. Go on.
That was it.
Yeah, you had a vested interest in the mongrels to rip a tongue out. It's a little different now, but
yeah. But also, thanks to all the awesome hero points I got last game I was in, I managed to come back like 3 times from the death door, so that was fun.
Yeah, definitely. That was. I'm looking forward to it because after Casey's probably lurking now. When he watches this and sees what Salen did, and he realizes that Salen is the one sending them on this mission, him and Joe Selby are going to go. Their brains are going to explode because they're going to be thinking all this crazy stuff. I just know
Warren will go nuts in conspiracy.
I can't wait.
That's
I can't
awesome.
wait.
Yep.
So
that's awesome.
One of the characters is insane, and so naturally, that guy's going to be suspicious of everybody because he's suspicious. He'd be suspicious of himself.
Right. Absolutely.
Yep.
So listen, you do not have to be a streamer to DM for virtual Greyhawk Con, just like any of the other, just like Gary Con or any of the Champion Con. It doesn't matter. We have this set up for using Discord for virtual the mind games, and we're going to boost the server, so don't worry about that. I will say this. We want the content to be Greyhawk content. Now, there's modules out there like Will has bought a Trollord Games module, our sponsor, main sponsor for the event, and he's converting it to Greyhawk, which is fine. But please, guys, the deal is we want to make this almost 100% Greyhawk content during the con. So that's the one thing we want to just 3K as lust up. You gotta get those points up, man. You gotta watch. You gotta keep that watching live going, and keep on pressing that button down there. Whenever it pops up, it comes a lot quicker. So, and we're hoping to have like 50 events maybe for signups. That's the goal. So, if you're interested and you have any questions, you can get in touch with me on that Discord server or any of the other admins on that Discord server. And if you have technical questions, you can ask Zarathon, Josh Pop, or Phantom, Rob. Then they'll be able to help you out with this. So that's what's going on with this. It's definitely going to happen. I have not reached out to the major cream of the crop, top of the line people yet. I wanted to get all the base set before I go there and even attempt to go there. So we'll get there, but let's go with I'll leave us at that picture, Tim, for departing. Look at how gray your hair is now.
Yeah, look how young and goofy I look. Look how big my nose is. I was a teenager. My nose was growing faster than my head. I grew into my nose, I think.
Yes, my son.
All of you look,
Yes, my son blew 100,000 points that one night that had just built up from him basically lurking on all the shows. So, but that's cool. Tim, you have anything in closing? And we'll call it an evening.
No. I'm concocting some new surprises for next time.
I love this character. I will shout out for Tim. I love this barbarian cleric that he has written up for the Narwhal campaign. All right. By the way, I made a spell list section right here that you didn't have and added that in.
I didn't put it in.
Yeah. So, first time we've ever in all these years run that barbarian cleric article character class. I've allowed it in. So, all right. Well, we'll see you 2 nights off. We'll see you Wednesday night for Legends and Lore Bandit Kingdoms. Yep. And thank you all for watching. Thank you for the great support. So, as we learned, the SB is behind the good guys and the bad guys in Altamira. No Scarlet Brotherhood. No, we learned that Scarlet Brotherhood doesn't really exist that much in my campaign, and Mike Bridges will agree with me. Nowhere in the Sea Princes ever.
They had the Scarlet Fever. And,
yes, keep them on
Yeah.
the eastern side of the map, and yeah.
That's good.
So, all right, we're gonna raid into Phantom, guys, and everyone knows Phantom, and he's painting. So sit tight and do us just give him a follow. It's not gonna hurt anything, right? Alrighty. So let me start up the ending here, and then we'll get over to there. He'll be like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah.
Thank you. Yes. What button am I hitting? Raid channel. Where is he? Starting it up, compiling. Thank you. Thank you all. Really appreciate it. All right, rating in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Pop in there. Thank you, Gary. Now I gotta get over there.